Hi! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Teacher Josa at welcome ulit sa ating Philo class. Sobra ko na kayong namimiss. I hope that you're all okay. Last meeting, our topic is all about debate. And for today, our topic is writing a position paper. Our content standard is this. The learner demonstrate various ways of doing philosophy. Performance standard, the learner evaluate opinions. For our most essential learning competency, you need to evaluate truth from opinion in different situations using the methods of philosophizing. We have two objectives: analyze the format and content of a sample position paper, cognitive, writing a position paper on a cyberbullying. So it's typo error lang. Bullying, psychomotor. So before we read the sample position paper, here's our guide questions. What is the main issue in the position paper? So the title of position paper is Localized Response to COVID-19 Global Pandemic A4EP position paper. And then two, what is the position of the authors regarding this issue? And three, what are their evidences? Okay? So again, the title of the position paper is Localized Response to COVID-19 Global Pandemic A4EP position paper. So let's read it. The Alliance for Empowering Partnership A4EP is a network of organizations committed to strengthen the humanitarian architecture and locally led response. On 21st of March, A4EP held a meeting with directors of 14 local, national organizations from 11 countries, some of whom are part of larger networks in country and representatives of the national, regional, and international coordination mechanisms. This position paper contributes to the discussions and decision-making on COVID-19 at international, regional, national, and local levels. It is aimed at the governments, their international development partners, aid donors, INGOs, the private sectors, and citizens. Most countries of A4EP members have reported only a limited number of confirmed COVID-19 cases and deaths. We recognize that this may be the result of lack of testing rather than reflect the real epidemiological situation. The measures taken so far to control gatherings of people and restrict mobility tends to be less drastic than in China, Korea, Europe, for example. This may change rapidly. While the message on hand washing is already circulating more widely, maintaining physical distance is lagging. Some of our CSO members are already limited for working from home. Overall, our population and our own staff are deeply concerned. Many people in our society are not digitally well connected and do not receive the health messages already circulating. Partial and often uncoordinated messaging adds to rather than reduce the confusion, stress, and anxiety. Also, for us, this is an unprecedented situation for which we have no standard operating procedure so far. Local and national civil society organizations have a critical role to play in the response to this pandemic. This all the more so because drastically reduced international travel and supply lines make large-scale international mobilization impossible. For international actors are also dealing with their own operational disruption and domestic COVID-19 crisis. We know that this may be not only a public health but also an economic and social crisis. It may also lead to a rise in ethnic, gender based, and domestic violence and may cause social unrest among daily wage earners. And people working in formal sectors faced with loss of jobs, income, and food security. All local and national capacities need to be mobilized to mitigate these impacts as much as possible. Number one, we urge for clear, coordinated, and understandable communications and protection for healthcare personnel and humanitarian workers and uninterrupted supplies. The most visible and immediately concerning impact of COVID-19 is on public health. We can learn from other countries about where major stresses in the health response will occur. Effective testing on a large scale, expanded intensive care capacities with special equipment, ventilators, protective equipment for frontline medical staff, support for stressed and exhausted medical staff, several of whom will be infected and some of whom may die. In-country manufacturers who can switch production temporarily to production of much-needed supplies such as hand sanitizers, soap, ventilators to support patients developing severe symptoms, protective clothes, gloves, masks, and goggles. A significant capacity lies in the private healthcare system that is inaccessible for much of our populations. This is not the time for socioeconomic discrimination. All health services capacities, including that of the security forces, must be mobilized in a coherent effort to control the situation and limit the mortality rates. All means of mobile communication and internet services must be functioning and accessible at subsidized cost to all during this crisis. A very vital component at this juncture is a psychosocial program. A large number of the population is fearful in the face of such unprecedented crisis. That emotional unrest will contribute to other socioeconomic problems. Tailored psychosocial activities ought to be launched through mainstream and social media. Clear, coordinated, and understandable communication to the public and all responders is vital. This should be in all languages and dialects spoken in all territory and disseminated not only via the internet, but also the relevant social media networks and for those without smartphones, computers, or electricity via phone calls and community workers. Younger people, the overwhelming majority of our populations, need to be told in a messaging that resonates with them that they can be spreading the virus but are also themselves at risk. While restricting people's mobility, key personnel necessary to maintain essential services need to be designated. This obviously includes pharmacies, bakeries, grocery stores, but also drivers of water trucks, garbage collectors, banking and insurance company staff, fuel station personnel, and humanitarian social workers. We have a key capacity. Local and national civil society organizations, not only those with health expertise, should be considered as an important auxiliary to the government efforts as our National Red Cross or Red Crescent societies and civil protection units. Our staff should be classified as key personnel with the permission to move about and assist. So that's the number one position. Number two, we urge support to maintain or restore our operational continuity through technical support and funding. To be able to play our part, we need to maintain or restore our operational continuity. We must be able to continue paying our staff, provide them with protective equipment, and in line with the benefits enjoyed by staff or international organizations with a robust health and life insurance. We need to maintain access to finance. ATMs must be kept supplied and accessible, and all employees need to be able to have digitized account. As organizations, we need to be quickly set up with e-banking where there's not yet a case and an issue of multiple signatures resolved within days. When requested, a donor should quickly agree to an extension of all ongoing projects, programs with additional appropriations and overhead costs given. Given this current circumstances, especially now, no staff of a local national organization should lose his or her job, due to suspension of projects or delay in the approval of grants. Volunteers will be coming forward in our societies once we have the capacity to safeguard, train, guide, and accompany them, and cover their operational and living costs. They become part of much needed surge in response capacity in the country. Where there are country-based pooled funds, they should be made easier, and quicker for local and national agencies to access. CBPF exists, however, only in a minority of COVID-19 affected countries. Setting them up typically take much time where there don't exist other modalities to making funding rapidly available. Need to be created quickly. Start Network, with its capacity of rapid financing, leverage of anticipation funding, and strategy of national, regional hubs, is in a good position to widen its outreach by looking beyond its existing member. Reach out to more locally rooted organizations, particularly in the countries where it has incubated national hub formation. This will offset the lack of CBPFs in a given country. We are a key capacity. From our international partners, we need an urgent and clear message that delays and interruption is in ongoing projects and their reporting requirements are inevitable and accepted. We need to be able to switch the funding that maybe have been allocated for other purposes to deal with COVID-19 until other funding becomes available. We need access to reliable information and solid and practical technical advice which can be offered remotely. We now need more than ever upfront and flexible funding. Writing elaborate project proposals and waiting weeks for a decision is not currently an option. We need to remove bureaucratic hurdles, introduce quicker decision making. Financial reporting and requirements need to be adapted so that we can maintain our cash flow, as international crisis response system is not able to present in these many countries that it may wish to. This is the time to put agenda for humanity commitment. 4A and grand bargain commitment to in practice reinforce rather than replace local and national capacities in a spirit of partnership. Where we all meet as equal, new partnership modalities might be needed. Instead of going through repeat due diligence processes that all of us have undergone multiple times already, we ask donors to adhere to commitment for of the grand bargain, reduce duplication and management costs. Women-led organization can play an important role in the response and need specific support. So that's for number two position. Here's the number three position. We urge for social welfare and protection for economically vulnerable. Reduce mobility within our countries, closure of all non-essential services and interrupted import and export flows will have a major economic impact. This will follow fast in the wake of and may even temporarily outpace the public health impact of COVID-19. We urge for social welfare and protection for economically vulnerable casual laborers, street vendors, small house owners, small producers, private urban transport providers, small and medium enterprises, in short, the hundred of millions who are already economically more vulnerable be first and hardest hit. That will be first and hardest hit. The widening gap between demand and supply due to hoarding and disruptive supply chains is likely to cause inflation in the prices of essential commodities. The result will be increased household debts and poverty. Our government do not have the billions of dollars to mitigate the economic impacts and loans of grants that the richer nations have. Our countries may need a moratorium on national debt interest, repayment, rescheduling, cancellations. We may need very soft loans and grant for social welfare protection. The international financial institutions and private sector lenders have a significant responsibility to mitigate a possible global depression. Our government, on the other hand, have the ability to provide policy guidance and legislate to mitigate this impact. We also ask the corporate sector to demonstrate more social responsibility at this critical time by working for the common good. From experience, we know that in times of economic and social stress, domestic violence, often directed at women and children, increases. Women and women's rights organizations have a particular role and contribution to make here, also providing support to men who have difficulty coping with much bigger challenges. ensuring enabling conditions for women's rights organizations, as well as those focusing on the elderly and the disabled, must be explicit objective for our government and international partners. We are the key capacity. Local and national civil society organizations have important role to play. Example, to identify which households to priorities in distributing cash grants and helping small in-depth producers, workers renegotiate their debts with lenders where needed, provide legal assistance. That's for number three position. Here's the number four. We urge our government's fellow citizens and fellow humans to treat everyone with dignity, and respect during this crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic can become a social crisis. Faced with this unprecedented and rapid onset threat, it is normal to feel fear and to think about our own physical and economic survival. We may be tempted to look for a scapegoat to blame or to argue that limited resources should be able to us and not to them. Them may be the poor, slum dwellers, tribals, domestic workers, migrant workers, religious or ethnic minorities, or IDPs. Asylum seekers, refugees, and other usually are already in a weaker economic, social, and legal position. That would be a mistake. Like climate change impacts, this is not a national, class, majority minority, or citizen foreigner crisis. This pandemic threatens all human beings in our global economy. Political and business leaders, as we have seen, are not immune or able to effectively protect themselves. It is humanity's challenge that we must confront together. We are a key capacity. Local and national civil society organizations are at the forefront of the fight against discrimination, injustice, exploitations, and exclusion in their own country. They have a vital role to play in ensuring that the tone of public discourse and practice is and remains one of empathy and inclusion, not blame, discrimination, and exclusion. Localization is inevitable now, also due to travel restriction. However, this localization should reflect the real spirit of partnership and complementarity instead of transferring the risk to local humanitarian workers. COVID-19, with its public health, economic, and social impacts, is a major threat. It is also a phase opportunity for experiencing our shared humanity, expanding our empathy and solidarity, and finally, investing seriously in local and national capacities. So that's the end of their position paper. Here's the person's um, contact numbers if you want further informations. CEO of Humanitarian Aid International India and from Global Mentoring Initiative Switzerland. So that's our example or sample position paper. So again, I want you to answer this question. What is the main issue in the position paper? Mm-hmm. What is the position or what are the positions? I think four position of the authors regarding this issue. What are their evidences? In writing position paper, you need to present arguable opinion and a stand about the issue. Your aim is to convince us or the audience using valid and relevant evidence. So sabihin na natin na class debate is the oral one while this one is the written. So after creating or writing or what you call this, performing a debate, class debate together with your partner and analyzing the issue using pros and cons grid, now you need to write a position paper. Diba? Wherein you need to convince us again, same with debate, using valid and relevant evidences. So what's your position regarding this issue? To ensure that you have a strong argument, you need to assess the certainty, gaano ka kasigurado, and the uncertainty of the issue. So you need to read a lot of references, researches, articles. No? Identify the two positions, your interest, and manage the specific topic. So we have supporting evidences like factual knowledge, information that is verifiable and agreed by the majority. So that's the factual knowledge. We also have statistical inferences, interpretation, result, and samples from accumulated facts or researches. Mas maganda yung mga interpretations, may mga interpretations na yung mga data. Informed opinion, so opinion from experts and for example, if it's about COVID-19, you need the Department of Health, secretary, undersecretary, the nurse, the doctors, and other expert in the fields. Personal testimony, statement of a person who experienced the issue. So we have different types of info. So first is the introductory information. Second is the in-depth and the scholarly articles. For the introductory informations, so we can find that information in the directories, encyclopedias, and handbook. You may use library catalog or now modern na, no, may e-library catalog na. And then the in-depth studies consists of books, government reports. No, for example, if you want to read about K-12 program, pwede nyo i-search yung www.deped.gov.ph, or for the statistics, the PSA has their own website. So you can find deeper or more relevant resources there. Library catalog, government websites. For the scholarly articles, those are academic journals and you may find it sa mga article indices. May mga online din naman na. So that's the type of info. So for the current issues, meron din tayong statistics. And then, I think for the type of informations, if you're looking for the current issues, pwede rin sa newspaper yan. Newspaper magazines. Nakoloran lang yung table natin, but supposedly ano yan, light colors. So, if you're looking for current issues, we have newspapers, magazines, and you may find it sa article indices. If the info that you want to find is the statistics, government agencies and associations, journal articles, and government website. Position paper and analysis, association and institute reports, library catalog, and website. Meron din tayong online. All right. So here's the outline for position paper. First part is the introduction. Introduction consists of the background of the issue, your stand regarding the issue. Okay. Number 2 is the counter argument. Summarize the counter claims, support information for counter claims, and refute the counter claims. So after telling us the background of the issue and your stand about the issue, okay, cite the counter argument. Okay, and then you need to write a summary, of course, and support those counterclaims. So for example, if you are pro-life, for example, and your stand, of course, is you want it, diba? And then the counter argument is they're against of it. Then you need to summarize those counterclaims, and then you need to refute the counterclaims. Okay. So next is, of course, if the last part of counter argument is the refute the counter claims, you need to cite your argument. Point number 1, your opinion and support. Point number 2, your opinion and support. Point number 3, opinion and support. Pwede tayong lumagpas dyan ng point, not just point 1, 2, and 3. Okay? For the conclusion, restate your argument. And for position paper, it's not enough that you tell us your opinion and support, and then here's the argument. No, it is very important for us to, if you're going to write position paper, sama natin your plan of action or possible solutions. No, kumbaga it's not enough na puro reklamo lang. So anong possible solution na nakikita mo regarding this issue? Okay. So for our learning activities, I want you to write position paper on the issue of student experiencing cyberbullying. So our rubric, complete part of the position paper, clear, it has substance, relevant, and valid evidences. You have your source and citations and grammar, 10 points. So I think that's the end of our lesson number 17 in philosophy. Thank you so much and have a nice day ahead. Thank you.